Millions of years ago, the world was not the place we know today. There were no cities, no roads, and no safe places to hide. The earth was wild, untamed, and filled with dangers beyond imagination. Deep within that ancient world, there existed a jungle so vast and so dark that even sunlight struggled to reach the ground. And in that forgotten place, where survival was never guaranteed, one girl opened her eyes to a reality no human was meant to face. Millions of years ago, the Earth was a completely different world, where there were no human cities, no roads, and no safe shelter, and the entire world was wild and unknown. And deep within that unknown world, there was a massive jungle, where every tree touched the sky, and sunlight could not reach the ground. And inside that jungle wandered enormous creatures, so large that any human standing before them would feel insignificant. And in the middle of that terrifying jungle, one day a young girl opened her eyes. She did not know where she was. Her head was spinning, her body was weak, and around her were strange sounds. She slowly stood up and looked around, but there was no sign of any human, only trees, darkness, and distant calls of unknown creatures. Her heart started pounding. She wanted to run, but she did not know which direction to go, so she slowly began to walk. And every step she took was filled with fear and uncertainty. Suddenly, in the distance, a massive shadow moved, and her body froze. She held her breath and stood still, and saw a giant creature moving through the trees. Its body was so large that the trees looked small beside it. The girl slowly stepped back because she realized this jungle was not meant for her. This jungle belonged to something else. But she did not know that this jungle was now her new world. The girl kept walking slowly, but her body was still weak and her head was spinning. She did not know how much time had passed, but sunlight was coming through the gaps of the trees, and that light gave her a little courage. She kept moving forward, because standing still would let fear consume her, and in this jungle, fear meant death. After walking some distance, she heard heavy footsteps on dry leaves. Her body stopped. Her breath froze. She slowly turned and saw a massive creature staring at her from behind the trees. Its eyes were glowing and its body was powerful. And in that gaze, there was the intention of a predator. Her heart started racing, and suddenly she began to run. Her legs were shaking, but she did not stop because she knew stopping meant the end. Behind her, the creature started running too. The jungle trembled, branches snapped, and she kept running forward. Her breathing became heavy, her eyes filled with tears, but she did not stop. Suddenly, she saw a fallen tree ahead. She jumped over it and quickly dived into a bush and held her breath as she lay still, her heart pounding violently. The creature passed by. It stopped. It looked around, but it could not find her. After a moment, it slowly walked away. The girl did not move for a while, then slowly lifted her head and realized she was alive. She stood up, her body shaking, but now there was something new in her eyes, fear and the will to survive. She understood that to survive in this jungle, she would have to learn. She started searching for water because her throat was dry. After a long time, she found a small stream. She knelt down and drank, and the cold water gave her new strength. Then she looked around and saw some fruits. She hesitated at first, but then she ate them because her hunger was unbearable. Days began to pass, and she slowly learned what could be eaten and what could not, what sounds meant danger and what did not. But she knew this jungle would not let her go easily. In the distance, that strange sound echoed again, and she realized her test was not over yet. Daylight slowly faded, and darkness began to fall over the jungle, and the girl stopped because she understood that night would completely change this place. The jungle of the day and the jungle of the night were not the same, and night meant unknown fear and the time of unseen predators. When the sun fully disappeared, darkness and strange sounds filled the surroundings. Wind moved through the trees, and it felt like whispers, and her body began to shake. She did not know where to go, so she sat beside a large tree. Her eyes slowly adjusted to the darkness, but even then she could see nothing except distant glowing lights, and she realized those were eyes. The eyes of predators watching her. Her heart pounded. She knew if she moved, they would attack, so she stayed still, her body frozen while her mind raced. Suddenly, a distant roar echoed and the entire jungle trembled. She closed her eyes because she knew she was small and weak in this vast world. After some time, she slowly opened her eyes and saw dry branches beside her, and an idea came to her mind. She had seen fire before with humans, but here she was alone. She picked up 2 stones and began striking them together. At first, nothing happened, but she did not stop because she knew this was her only chance to survive. After many attempts, a small spark appeared and fell onto dry leaves. Slowly, smoke rose, and then a small flame came alive. Her eyes filled with amazement because she realized she had created fire. The light spread around her and pushed the darkness back, and those distant eyes began to disappear because they feared fire. She sat beside the fire, her body still shaking, but inside her, a new feeling was born. She was no longer just prey. She was learning to survive. The night slowly passed, and she kept staring at the fire, and that fire was not just light. It was her strength. It was her symbol of survival. When morning light finally appeared, she realized she had survived the night. And that night had changed her. Morning light slowly spread through the jungle, and the fear of the night faded away, and the girl sat beside the fire, her eyes tired, but inside that exhaustion there was new strength because she realized she could survive. She slowly stood up and looked around. The jungle seemed calm, but she knew that calmness was temporary. She put out the fire and moved forward because she knew she had to keep going. After some distance, she suddenly stopped because she saw people standing in the distance. They were primitive humans. Their bodies were strong, their eyes alert, and in their hands were stone weapons. Her heart pounded. She did not know if they were enemies or friends. She slowly raised her hands to show she meant no harm. They slowly approached her and surrounded her, watching her carefully. For a moment, no one spoke. Then one of them stepped forward and looked at her with curiosity. She stood still, fear inside her, but she did not run. Slowly, they understood she was not a threat, and they took her with them. Their settlement was deep in the jungle. They made fire. They sat together. They ate together. And slowly, she became part of their life. She saw how they hunted, how they moved as a group, how they planned and attacked together, and one day they took her with them and she watched from a distance, and slowly she became part of that group. She learned how to make weapons from stone, how to start fire, how to find paths in the jungle. At night, they sat around the fire, they sang and danced, and slowly she began to dance with them, and her smile returned. Days passed, and she realized she was no longer alone. She was now part of them. But one day, a strange sound echoed in the sky. She looked up and saw a distant light, and she realized her old world had found her. Inside her, a conflict began. Should she return or stay? The primitive humans looked at her, their eyes understanding. They said nothing, but they knew she would leave. She slowly walked toward them. She touched them. Tears filled her eyes. For the last time, she looked at them and realized they had given her a new life. Then she started walking toward the light. As she rose into the sky, she looked down and saw the jungle, the people, the fire. She returned to her old life in the city, but she was no longer the same, because inside her, the jungle remained. And sometimes she looks at the sky and wonders where she truly lived.